On today's Locked On Royals podcast, I want to discuss if Adalberto Mondesi has a future in Kansas City. At just 27 years old, the once star-bound shortstop for the Kansas City Royals, who made his major league debut in the World Series, now finds himself on the outside looking in of the Royals' future. What to expect from Mondesi and the team moving forward, and when to expect the Royals starting to win. All of this and more coming up on today's Locked On Royals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Royals podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your teams every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Royals. Email the show, lockedonroyals@gmail.com. On today's show, I want to spend today talking about Adalberto Mondesi, his career to this point, and his future with the Kansas City Royals. I think that with Adalberto Mondesi, it is the most interesting storyline regarding the Royals franchise right now. But thank you so much for making Locked On Royals your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Royals baseball. For your second listen, please go check out the Locked On Chiefs podcast, Locked On Mizzou podcast, and Locked On Jayhawks podcast, getting you set for the college football season, for the NFL football season, and even the Locked On Wildcats podcast for all you K-Staters out there. But we're here talking about Royals baseball. So Adalberto Mondesi, he is acquired via the amateur free agent period in 2011 and makes his major league debut with one at-bat on October 30th, 2015 at just 20 years old. He was the 21,000th MLB player, 21,053rd MLB player. Had the one at-bat on October 30th against the Mets in the World Series. Did not record the hit or get on base or anything like that. But still, he made his debut in the World Series. He is the crown jewel of the new wave of Royals baseball after that initial core. He is supposed to be running Kansas City at this point. I take you back to 2015. He was the number one ranked prospect in the system. He was, again, supposed to be running Kansas City, what Patrick Mahomes is right now. You know, he was supposed to be on that footing of a guy who everyone has his jersey, a guy who kids want to be on the playing surface, a guy who is the face of your organization, your most recognizable name, a multi-time all-star. He is supposed to be all of those things. And yet, we sit here in 2022, and Adalberto Mondesi has no All-Star appearance to his name, and just has a career that is one of the more perplexing in all of Major League Baseball, but especially for Kansas City. And so as we sit here in year 7, and he's up for free agency in 2024, I want to discuss just how the future looks for the 27-year-old Adalberto Mondesi and the Kansas City Royals. So again, he's supposed to be this all-star. He's supposed to be this dominant force in the Kansas City sports scene. And in 2016, he gets a shot with 47 games played. Bats a $185, OPS of 512, OPS plus of 37. He's had an above 100 OPS plus once in his major league career. It was in 2018 when he played 75 games. But these stats show glimpses of what he could be, but there's only one category that matters. Leading Major League Baseball in triples with 10 in 2019. That is a glimpse of what he could be. Leading Major League Baseball in steals with 24 in that COVID-shortened 60-game sprint of 2020. That is a glimpse of what he could be. The 14 home run output with 37 RBIs and 32 stolen bags. That is a glimpse of what he could be. Some of the slick fielding highlights you'll see are flashes of what he could be. But the one category that matters for Adalberto Mondesi is the games played category. In 7 years, he's played 358 games of a 162-game sport. So let's go down the line. 2016, 47 games. 2017, 25 games. 2018, 75 games. 2019, plays 102 games, so he barely made it over that 100-game mark. Now, 2020, he played 59 out of 60 games, so don't let that 59 fool you. 2020, he played all but one game in that COVID season. But then in 2021, it dips back down to 35 games. And then this year, he's only played in 15 games this year and is out for the season. Now, I believe that Adalberto Mondesi, as a player, has been dealt a bad hand or has been riddled with injuries. But before we transition into what his career has been, just as a refresher, top prospect in the system, highly regarded by Royals fans. People were going out trying to buy his baseball card, trying to get his autograph, trying to buy his jerseys. He was supposed to run this town. He was supposed to run Kansas City. And it's never panned out that way because of injuries. And so Adalberto Mondesi goes from being lofted, being this, pedestal type of player, to being the first player ever that Dayton Moore will criticize publicly. How did we get from one extreme to the other? And is there a middle ground in between those two ventures? And is there a future in Kansas City for Adalberto Mondesi? I want to get to all of that on today's Locked On Royals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your teams every day. Now, I want to first discuss LinkedIn. LinkedIn is incredible because as you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier for you to find people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a job post in minutes to the LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the hashtag We're Hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on quickly prioritizing who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus their leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. We are back on the Locked On Royals podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, Ryland Styles. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryland_Styles. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Royals. Email the show, lockedonroyals@gmail.com. We're talking about Adalberto Mondesi today. And we've went over his history and we've went over his fatal flaw being the games played mark. And so the first topic of discussion here, why is this even being brought up right now? Well, it's twofold. Numero uno, the first thing is Dayton Moore calling out Adalberto Mondesi last year. It was on a radio hit with 610 Sports Radio, and Dayton Moore blatantly said we can no longer count on Adalberto Mondesi as a part of the Royals organization in the future plans because of his health and because of his injury history and because of the lack of being able to be on the field. Expressing that frustration about Adalberto Mondesi's injuries publicly and showing frustration with a player publicly for the first time is a big deal. This is not an organization, and that's not a part of the organization in Dayton Moore who does that very often at all. Usually, they're lying to you to feed you sunshine. What I mean by that is the sentiment 100% factual? Yes. What Dayton Moore said about Adalberto Mondesi is 100% factual. Any good team, any good GM, any good baseball ops person, any good ownership group, any good fan base would no longer calculate Adalberto Mondesi into their future because it's been proven time and time again you cannot count on him to stay healthy. However, it is still notable that he said the obvious statement because just look at his track record this season, where he has lied to you and told you things were better than they are and fed you crap about how this team is heading in the right direction and it's not the pitching coach's problem and it's not the hitting coach's problem, and then all of a sudden you fire your hitting coach and the offense turns it around. And he's fed you stuff about how young players can't come up and perform, and then they do. And he's just stepped in it over and over and over again, publicly in a PR standpoint, in a press conference setting standpoint. He's done that over and over and over again to where he could have still lied to you about Adalberto Mondesi and said, yeah, we still trust him, we still want him here, we still value him and put him in our future plans. But no, he's chose to, for the first time ever, vocalize this frustration with Adalberto Mondesi. That is a big deal for this organization. Number two is, it's getting pretty crowded. Let's face it. For a team that is in the basement of the AL Central, the worst division in baseball, or joshing in and out of it with the Tigers, their infield's getting kind of crowded. Because you have Bobby Witt Jr. playing third when his natural position should be shortstop. You have Nicky Lopez who can play second or short. And then you have guys in that infield like Nick Prado at first base. So that takes up two of the infield spots in Bobby Witt Jr. and Nicky Lopez. Then the third goes to Nick Prado. Obviously, he can't catch, so catching's out of the equation. So you've got catcher, first base, second base, shortstop, third base. Of those five groups, three of them are out, and then the fourth one's out with catcher. So first base is gone, second base is gone, shortstop is gone, catcher is gone. You've got one spot left, and you're having to battle it out with guys like Michael Massey, who's played really well and is currently occupying second base for you. So how do you get into the equation if you're Adalberto Mondesi, especially if you cannot stay healthy? And if you're Kansas City, look, you move Bobby Witt Jr. to third base with the expectation of be playing next to Adalberto Mondesi. It's time to stop conforming to the idea that Adalberto Mondesi will be in Kansas City at any point in time and will be healthy at any point in time. And so you're going to let Nicky Lopez play second base. You're going to let Bobby Witt Jr. play shortstop. And then you're still going to want at-bats for Michael Massey, who's been really good so far when he's get called up into MLB action. So he'll play third base. That'll play. And you don't want Mondesi playing first. Of course, he can't catch. Can that speed translate and athleticism translate? And also, can that speed and athleticism hold up over all these injuries? Can that translate to the outfield? Because you have more questions out there than you do in the infield. left field right now locked up by MJ Melendez because he can't catch every day because, you still have Salvador Perez catching. But other than that, Michael A. Taylor, he's not in Kansas City for the long haul, I don't believe. But you just called up Drew Walters, Drew Waters, who's been handling right field for you. Of course, still have Nate Eaton, who's played well in the outfield. Kyle Isbell's played well in the outfield. Brent Rucker is called up as well in that outfield. And not to mention Vinny Pasquantino, who is on the IL right now when he returns, but that won't really impact Mondesi because, he'll slide in that DH spot. But it's another slot gone for Mondesi. You're not going to put Mondesi at DH because you're going to want Prado and Pasquantino both in that lineup. And so one will play first, one will play DH as they get settled into their new roles. So you're running out of spots for Adalberto Mondesi, even for as bad as this team is, even as for the record being so terrible. You have the young players that are taking his job. You have the young players that are pushing him out. You have the young players that are phasing him out. But here's the kicker, though. You cannot possibly trade Adalberto Mondesi. You just can't. Because he does have all-star potential. He does have that all-star skill set. He does have that in him. And right now, we'll be trading him at an all-time low in the offseason. At the winter meetings, we'll be trading him at an all-time low. So you've got to find a way to get him on the field healthy. You've got to find a position for him to play. And you've got to hope that he can stay healthy enough to display value. And then you can seek a trade for him on the trade market before his free agency in 2024. That is a lot of pressure. Oh, yeah, while you're trying to mesh all these young guys together, while you're trying to take a step in the win column, while you're trying to get back into contention, this is going to be a fascinating storyline to follow throughout the next year plus. This is going to be a situation that can either really accelerate the timeline by either Mondesi becoming this all-star level player and helping you win baseball games, or by him becoming a really good player and getting traded and bringing back a return that helps you eventually win baseball games. So it's going to either make you in that category, or this guy who was once propositioned to run the city of Kansas City and run just the entire universe of the sports landscape in Kansas City just nets you back nothing. Nets you back not a single thing. If you view this as an investment, the return on investment is negative from Adalberto Mondesi. If you rushed out to go buy his rookie cards, if you rushed out to go get his autograph, if you paid him in amateur free agency, if you rated him high as a prospect, all that stuff gets you back zilch if he doesn't pan out next year. So this is going to be the storyline to follow for Kansas City. And I want to tell you how I think this will play out in Kansas City. Why I still believe in Adalberto Mondesi. We're here on the Lockdown Royals podcast talking about Adalberto Mondesi. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Royals baseball. Check out the Lockdown Royals YouTube page. Check us out on all the podcasting platforms. And we're here talking about Adalberto Mondesi. Now, I still believe in Adalberto Mondesi. And I know that's crazy. I know it's crazy. And I cannot blame you. I cannot look down upon you or tell you you're wrong if you've given up on Mondesi. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I wouldn't blame you if you vehemently disagree with me for not giving up on Adalberto Mondesi. But here's the reason I don't. These last couple of injuries, they've been the herky-jerky nature where he starts the season, so to say, he has the start of his season, he has an injury, he comes back, and then he has an injury, he's out for the season. But in between that herky-jerky of, starting his season, 10-day IL stint, comes back, another IL stint, comes back, injury again. This is the first time in which all of those times he actually got on the field, all those times he actually got on the physical playing surface, he looked like an all-star each time. He brought that oomph each time. So maybe, just maybe, he's figured it out. It's just the crying shame he hasn't gotten healthy. It's just the crying shame that he can't stay on the field. But we'll never know because we never see him play. But this can have a dramatic impact. And truly, it can only have a dramatic impact in a positive way. Because let's just say he gets hurt again next year and plays less than 40 games next year. Well, then that's the same return you've been getting. You didn't get anything less than what you've already been getting. You didn't get anything that you didn't account for. You're not accounting for anything. So even if the worst case scenario plays out, it's still just a bummer. It's a missed opportunity. It's a missed chance. You've given this guy 8 years, 9 years to become something in Kansas City that he never could. But it's not as though that dramatically pushes the rebuild off course. In fact, it doesn't even kind of twist the sails. It just makes it feel like a bummer, right? It just gives you that sad feeling of what could have been. And if this guy does get on the field and does play at an all-star caliber level and does reach his potential, well, then, like I said, it'll either push your sails toward the postseason and you'll be just steamboating along to contention, or it'll just lightly breeze you onto the right current and onto the right wave that will push you down to the deadline and trade them there and get back prospects who can help you win in the next couple of seasons. Because the defense, the speed, and the potential for power will all play at the major league level if he can ever stay healthy. His skill set in athletic versatility. If you asked him to play second base, he could. Third base, he could. Shortstop, he could. I believe he could play outfield if you taught him how to. He can turn into a very nice Swiss Army knife if he can ever become healthy. So I think that there's still a spot for him in baseball. I think there's still a spot for him in Kansas City, but we went over how crowded it is getting. That's before you get to start calling up guys like Nick Lofton even, who I think is going to be good. But it truly is, in every sense of the phrase, a make-it-or-break-it year for Adalberto Mondesi next season. And the frustrating part, the sad part, the scary part is it's all about health. It's all about things that are very, very hard to control and uncontrollable if you're Kansas City or a fan or whatever. You're just hoping this guy's body holds up. And he's hoping his body holds up, right? I mean, everyone's hoping for the same thing here. Everyone wants the same outcome. Everyone wants this to happen. Let me know what you think about Adalberto Mondesi in the comment section down below on YouTube or on Twitter at LockedOnRoyals, on the email account LockedOnRoyals@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.